Ooh. I got it right in front of me here. Okay, are we all set to go, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Okay, good morning, everyone. We'll call the meeting to order. The first order of business is the adoption of the agenda. Recommendation is
The West Elgin Council hereby adopts the agenda as presented.
mover and seconder, please. Moved by Rowe and seconded by Leatham. All in favor? That is carried. So a reminder to disclose any pecuniary interest. First item up is a public meeting.
The resolution is that council proceed into a public meeting pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 at 9:33 a.m. in order to consider a proposed amendment to zoning bylaw 2015-36.
Mover and seconder, please. Cameron and Tellier, all in favor? That is carried.
Brian, you're up. Oh, I gotta read the purpose of the public meeting, sorry. Apologize, I was a little behind this morning. The purpose of this public meeting is to review an application for the rezoning of lands located at 21934 Johnston Line, Rodney, as a condition of consent application E6821 by rezoning the retained farmland parcel from general agriculture A1 zone to agriculture A2 zone in order to prohibit a dwelling, and rezoning the severed surplus farm dwelling parcel from general agricultural A1 zone to restricted agricultural site specific provision 6, A3-6 zone, in order to recognize the new surplus farm dwelling lot being created with a minimum lot frontage reductions. Council will not make a decision on the application at this public meeting. Based on the recommendation and information received at this public meeting, an amending bylaw will be presented to council in the bylaw portion of the regular meeting of council. The planner is keeping a public registry, and if any member of the public wishes to be notified in writing of the decision on this application, they can provide their name and mailing address via email to planning@westelgin.net or by calling 519-785-0560, extension 226, no later than 4 p.m. on the day of the public meeting. A person or public body may appeal a decision if they have made an oral or written submission at today's meeting. If you wish to make an oral submission during the public meeting, please use the raise your hand feature in the Zoom, and the clerk will allow you to speak when the call is put out.
Brian. Good morning.
Good evening, or good afternoon, or good morning, I guess I should say. I gotta get it at the right time zone
You got
here.
3 different time zones?
Yeah, exactly. Feels like it after last night. Good morning, everyone. There's members of the public on the call as well as the applicants. So I just want to acknowledge them as well. So before you today is a related zoning bylaw amendment application that was tied to application for consent that was heard before council a few months ago there in September. That was for E6821 that proposes to create a surplus farm dwelling severance on Johnson Line there. So I put before you the staff report. This zoning sketch is attached to the staff report as well that proposes to sever off that keyhole lot for the house on the property. So again, the purpose of this is to create the land use regulations for creating those new lots. So the intent is to put that house into the A3 zone with a special provision attached to it to address the minimum lot frontage requirements. Because the zoning bylaw standard is 30 meters, the intent is to reduce that down to 19.6 meters to recognize the existing laneway entrance so that we're not over compensating and taking additional lands out of agricultural production, essentially. And then the retained farmland portion would be put into an A2 type zone. And the purpose of that would be to preclude the farm lands from having a house built on it as a as a result of getting the benefit of a surplus farm dwelling severance as part of a farm consolidation process. So with that, I've analyzed the planning policies for council and everyone that has access to the package. I've opined in the staff report that it meets the provincial policy statement. It conforms to the county official plan as well as the municipal official plan, and analyze the zoning bylaw relief that I just mentioned. The application was circulated out on the 3rd day of February. That's essentially 21 days ago. Legislative minimum is 20 days. So information's been posted on the website for public access and availability that way, as contained in the notice. Municipal departments were circulated this. I do note that the building department noted to me that the new septic system was being installed under a permit process, and construction, they conducted an inspection on the system December 21st. There's still some outstanding inspections left on that permit, but no issues from proceeding forward, obviously, at this stage with the zoning bylaw amendment. Because the septic process is one of the conditions of consent that they need to fulfill on their consent application. So, but good to know. Utilities department noted no issues. Obviously, there's no water and sewer, municipal water or sewer that fronts this property. From agencies, I did receive comments from Lower Thames Valley Conservation Authority in a February 4th, 2022 letter. Essentially, that was contained within the report as well. There's a little bit of regulated area associated with the Purcell drain on the property. But again, there's no development being proposed as a result of a surplus farm dwelling severance. So no issues of concern there with their comments. And at time of writing of this report, there was no written public comments received to date. I do know there's a few that have joined the public meeting though on this call as well. So there'll be opportunities here in a bit for them to address comments or concerns that they might have on that application in a few minutes. So with that, I put forward a summary of the recommendations in my report, outlining the planning documents, and of course, recommended options for council to make a decision on this, subject to hearing any oral or written comments through this public meeting at today's council meeting. So, and once there's a decision of council, of course, there's a notice that needs to be sent out, as well as the 20-day appeal period on the decision making. So parties that have contacted me will be able to receive that notice, of course, and anybody else that wishes to do so in accordance with what the clerk just read out there a few minutes ago by end of day today, essentially. So with that, I'll toss it back to you, Mayor, and we can continue on with the public meeting. I do note that Dan McKillop is here as the applicant.
Okay, thank you, Brian. From the applicant, any presentation, any comments that you'd like to make, Dan?
I've allowed you to speak, Mr. McKillop, so.
Good morning. I think I unmuted myself. I'd like to say good morning to council and staff members. Always a pleasure seeing you. The only comment I have, everything Brian has spoke about, Mr. Pierce, I should say, has spoke about. The septic system, the only, I'm not concerned, but the only thing outstanding there, because of the type of system that was put in, we had to put a pump from the tank to the weeping bed. And because of the time of year, that hasn't been done, but there's no issue in installing it. Other than that, everything else, we've confirmed that the road allowance at the county road has already had lands taken away. I've contacted the municipality regarding a 911 number for the retained land, And then they also just have to confirm there's an entrance into the retained land, and it should be fine. That's the way they've been getting in for years. So other than that, I think it's ready to go. Any
Okay.
questions?
Any questions for Dan? Being none, Dan, I guess we'll move on to the next, any public comments, anyone online that would like to speak to this issue?
If any of the members of the public online wish to speak, just use your raise your hand function and I will give you the opportunity to speak. Okay, I'm just going to give you a couple more minutes and then I guess we'll move on from public comments. Because I'm seeing none. I'm seeing none, sir.
Okay. All right, with the fact that public has been given the opportunity to speak to this issue and seeing none, we'll move on to any questions or comments from council members. Okay, seeing none there. We do have a recommendation, Madam Chair, or Madam Clerk.
So the recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Brian regarding zoning bylaw amendment application D140222 for 21934 Johnston Line. And that West Elgin Council approved the zoning of 21934 Johnston Line from general agricultural A1 zone to agricultural A2 zone and restricted agricultural site-specific provision 6 A3-6 zone with site-specific provision 6, reducing the minimum lot frontage from 30 meters to 19.6 meters in accordance with the draft bylaw contained within Appendix 2 of the report. And further, that West Elgin Council consider the bylaw to amend the zoning bylaw as presented in the bylaw portion of the February 24th, 2022 council agenda.
Okay, mover and seconder for that recommendation. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Cameron. All in favor? And that is carried.
So now we need to close the public meeting. So the recommendation is that West Elgin Council hereby closes the public meeting held pursuant to section 34 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990 at 9:44 a.m. in order to reconvene in open council.
Mover and seconder, please. Moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier. All in favor? That is carried. That all for you, Brian? Have more? Okay.
Sir, Dan McKillop does have his hand up. Mr. McKillop,
Okay.
is there something you needed to say before we moved on?
I just want to thank council for their support and staff for their work. Have a great day.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on. So now we're at the adoption of the minutes, sir. Is that where we're
Yes,
at?
go ahead, please.
That the minutes of the council meeting on February 10th, 2022 be adopted as circulated and printed.
Moving, seconder, Cameron. All in favor? Carried.
Is there any business arising? Anyone?
Any business from the meeting or minutes? Seeing none, staff reports, operations and community service.
So we'll let Emily speak first and then I'll see what council decides.
Morning, Emily.
Morning, Mayor McPhail and council. So I'm here today to provide you with information from the Youth Task Team. So the Youth Task Team is a local community group that runs through West Elgin and Dutton. And they have submitted a request to be a part of our recreation committee, as they would like to provide the community with a youthful lens and have youth's voice ages 12 to 19 be heard through different venues such as recreation. So in the report, there are 3 options as youth members may age out as like going to university and move away from the community and then come back at a later time. Yeah.
Okay. I guess we have some members from the recreation committee here. What are your thoughts on this proposal? wants to lead off.
One
Richard.
thing through the chair,
Yes,
just through the chair, you mentioned 12 to 19 and on our report it says, sorry, 12 to 17, not 12 to 19. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that's my mistake on the 12 to 17, the youth task team and their request, the actual age they're dedicating their programming to is 12 to 19.
Okay, thank you.
comments from the recreation? Oh, I didn't see your little hand in that hand I see. Yes, Tressa, go ahead.
Good morning, everybody, through the chair. So as you know, I serve as a committee of council for both the rec committee and the youth task team at the West Elgin Community Health Center. So yeah, Emily is correct. It goes to 19. They're just looking to reach out and have different voices and have different ways to draw from the community about initiatives that they can look at. So I think this would be great to have them included in that and to have their voices heard. They did a study, I want to say in 2018, that their voices weren't, they felt they weren't part of the community at times as youth in West Elgin. And so with that study, they have taken it to arm themselves to try to go to different businesses and now go to council to see if they can be out there in the community with voices heard and to hear the voices of the community as well.
I certainly welcome the youth to this committee. I think it's great that they want to be involved. Sounds like they're bringing some grant money with them, so that's even better. And so I would support it for sure.
I think the big question is there are some options here as to how the youth group will participate at the table, whether voting, non-voting. What's your thoughts on that, Emily? We'll start out, you're close to it, and then Tressa, you can add your thoughts into it.
I would like to see youth on the committee, as they will provide a different outlook on recreation in the community and how to engage with a whole different population that we would never have thought.
Russ?
Through the chair, yeah. So just in hearing their voices, maybe we'll retain their bodies in our community as they grow up and go off to school, but maybe they will come back to the community that listened to them, that took their voices and had them to see them in action. And they should have a voice at the table of their own community, what's happening in rec, and it'll be nice to see what they bring to the table if they do are joining us.
Yes, Bonnie.
In terms of voting, my perspective would be that you always take more ownership if you have a concrete say. I don't think 2 votes probably makes sense based on the average of ages, represented. So I would say that 1 and an alternate that could vote in the place of the 1 if they're not there would be where the route that I would go in terms of voting.
Through the chair, we've talked about this several times at the rec committee, and the majority of committee members do support having youth on the team. I will admit that quorum with the rec committee has been a large issue in the past with us being able to hold meetings. So having 2 voting members could be an issue with us being able to continue with quorum. So I would support Councillor Rowe in 1 and an alternate, because if we put them both in voting members, that could be an issue with us being able to have quorum. So I'd like to be able to continue with monthly meetings as often as possible. So I would support that.
That somewhat changes the options. Is there one there with a?
That would be option 3. So a voting member, appoint 1 as a voting member, and then you could allow a second member to, they could be the alternate and or just there as a non-voting member, and whatever of the 2 shows up they get 1 vote from the youth task team, and those two can switch out what the vote is, kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't affect quorum as much. It gives them a vote, but it gives them two representatives in case one doesn't show up. And it doesn't hurt quorum as much.
But that detail is really not spelled out in option 3.
A member of the youth task force appointed as a voting member would sit on the committee for 4 years. A second member would be appointed as a non-voting member. So I guess,
There's no language. There's no language in there to be.
yeah, so, okay, we'll, as a non-voting member.
Through the chair, the rec committee is pretty informal, so
Mhm.
it's just having enough members to actually be able to hold a meeting is the issue often.
Maybe that's something that we'll have to look at in the future.
Yeah, so the reality, so I guess the way I helped Emily with this, and I looked at option 3 as, okay, so your 2 people get to sit on the committee, one gets a vote, there's 1 vote from the youth task team, but 2 of them can sit there and contribute to the
They just got
meeting.
a half of it.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. That's the way it looks at. They get, the youth task gets 1 full-on vote just to help balance quorum. So it's not as hard if there's 2 of them that aren't there. And they can, if somebody, we're not going to appoint them by name. If we appoint 1 position from the youth task team, that way, if they age out, we're not continuously coming back to council to ask to appoint a new name. If you appoint it as a body, there'll be 1 representative from, or there'll be 2 representatives from the youth task team, but they get 1 vote.
So you'll move a modified option 3.
Okay, so-
Second that. You know, mover and seconder. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Mayor McPhail and council.
All right, our next item up, I guess this is Brian again. As we had asked Brian to do some research into making information available about the additional dwelling units. Brian, anything to add to your report?
So good morning again, Mayor and members of council. So this is just a follow-up from the conversations we had at council talking about zoning related stuff on January 13th. Council was generally in consensus to wanting to see a dedicated webpage on our municipal website for information related to additional dwelling units or secondary dwelling units, or the copious other names that I could come up with in there. So what I did is I tried to piece together a quick win for council and the municipality on our website with the appended information on the staff report. I gave you a draft of what I worked up with my time to provide that information. There might be changes over time and it'll always be continually updated, but at least this is a start for a centralized source of information on our website. So with that, if council has any questions or comments, be glad to try to answer them, and we'll get this up thereafter.
Any questions from council? Bonnie?
Yeah, it's good to have all the associated links in one place. So that's makes it a lot more accessible to people. I thought it was pretty technical terminology, and I wondered if there was a way to make it more layperson friendly. You know, just something like, did you know the municipality of West Elgin allows secondary dwellings on residential properties? And what is a residential property? Is it village, hamlet, rural, that kind of thing? But just those were my only suggestions. I think it will be helpful to people.
Thank you for the comments.
That's a very good point, Bonnie. I think you have to, in any of these things that you put up, you have to make them user friendly. And I know that planning speak and user friendly speak, sometimes there's a gap in between. So if we could work towards that. Another thing that I think that would be good to have as information is not knowing who requests it, but just a tracking number of how many people are actually looking at this. That'll give us a gauge of
I have that
You
ability.
have that ability?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, because it, if we put this out there and nobody's looking at it, maybe we need to put it out in a different format.
Yeah, so what I was thinking that way, and we'll publicize it under the business and development section of the website and give it a dedicated heading on there. That was our thought process on that. There's opportunities for a communication plan going forward as well, when we send out tax bills, that sort of thing too, that we can include such things as this, as well as municipal related interests that are out there, that can give a more broader reach to everybody in our municipality of this permission that we do have in the municipality. So I think that will help as well, and add attraction to it going forward.
Okay.
So the resolution is that West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Brian Pierce, planner, regarding additional dwelling units, secondary residential units, dedicated webpage for information purposes.
Mover and seconder. Hammer and Rowe, all in favor? That's carried.
Okay, so the next report is mine on coyote population control, as a response to a Deputy Mayor Latham's request. I did some research, found some information. Not a lot out there, unfortunately. Councillor Cammert was kind enough to use some of her contacts with the Farm Federation, and we did find out what other areas are doing. So I'm not sure if this was enough information for you, Deputy Mayor Latham, if council wants to make a decision on doing other things, so.
Yeah, through the chair. I've had quite a lot of interest over this, and quite a few people pulling into the yard and asking me about it. So it looks like right at the moment that we might be getting somebody from Chatham Kent. That they're a walking group that likes to walk through bushes just to try to take a few coyotes down with them, because I live next to the river, and our local dog people that hunt coyotes around here won't go because of the River Thames, and I can understand that. So we're waiting for the ice to go off the Thames, and I've got another actually three farms interested that join onto mine. So we got like 450 acres parcel there that we're going to try to get an organized hunt on. So that it's going to help. I had a member of the public as well suggested that, when we have the big book show.
It's not happening this year.
No, but when we have the big book show again, that maybe coyotes could be one of the things that are in the show. Like they have the antlers for deer, etc. They could have the longest coyote tail or something of that description. And maybe, down the road, we might be able to get like, I don't know, some sort of prize from the council or whatever. That could go towards it.
I did actually, I don't know if you read all of every part of it. I was actually really surprised when I found that they said that the more, if you controlling the population through lethal force tends to actually cause a rebound and an increase in the population. That was actually a real surprise to me. That's quite correct, because there's only so many breeding pairs, and if you take them out, another breeding pair or perhaps two comes in their place. So I do know that, but right now I think we're at the top, and if we don't keep culling a few out, we are going to get into trouble. Would you like me to put those attachments, like especially living with wildlife encounters, that from the MNR, would you like me to put information in living and coyote proofing your property on our website, like links those forums and links, and maybe do some social media on that? That's what I was thinking. We could maybe do that. We haven't had a lot of calls, and all the clerks in Elgin County haven't really heard any either, but we live, like you said, you're closer to My understanding is Middlesex County is having more of an issue, and you're right on the border there, sir. So I
That's
bet you
right.
that's part of the issue. So if you'd like, I can do some social media and website stuff on coyotes.
We could do that. I think it just hasn't come out. A lot of people are talking about it, but it's not out in the, you know, they're just between neighbours saying, did you hear that last night? Or did you see that in the field yesterday? It's just bringing people, you're seeing more and more people noticing things when you start to bring it out into the public. Anyway, thank you.
So through the chair, my contacts did survey quite a few people across Southwestern Ontario. Really, the only feedback we got was some inner city issues up in Brantford area. In recent to a subdivision that was recently built in a rural area. Other than that, it was the typical usual livestock areas that were complaining. One of the things that were discussed in some of the messages that we were flying around was the fact that the decrease in deer hunting has happened. And so the deer population is very high right now and the coyotes are going after them. And I have noticed that obviously in West Elgin as well, that our deer population is a lot larger this year. For whatever reason, people aren't hunting as much. And maybe that's why the coyotes are a lot more obvious this year, because they're going after an obvious food source that is out and about. So maybe that's why. I don't know. It's, you know, just the facts of nature. So, but needless to say, my contacts are, the bug has been put out there. And if they do notice something, they're going to keep providing me feedback and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So at this point, I guess from an action by council that if we put the awareness on the website of coyote proofing your property, and other than that, I don't know, as Richard say, there's maybe some things going to happen. So I think from council's point of view, there's nothing that we need to actively do right at this time.
Correct.
Okay.
So it's
Everybody
just,
satisfied with that? So you need a motion to receive and file that?
yep, just receive and file my report. Yep.
Okay, mover and seconder, moved by Leatham, seconded by Cameron, all in favor, and that is carried. Next item.
So the next item is my use of corporate resources during an election policy. We are required to have this out before May 1st. I tried to get moving a little earlier. I've been working very closely with Elmer and Malahide. The three of us are sharing a lot of stuff because we are all running the same basic election. And so this is kind of a joint policy we wrote together and used some resources from other areas. So if anyone has any questions or concerns. We have to do one every year, and this is a little more updated than our last one, just because, like I said in my report, in 2018, nobody had any internet presence. Now there is. So everything is, if you're good, then I'll read the recommendation. The West Elgin Council hereby receives the report from Janet Nethercott Clerk regarding the use of corporate resources during an election policy, and that West Elgin hereby considers the bylaw to adopt the use of corporate resource during an election policy in the bylaw portion of the agenda.
Mover and seconder, moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier, all in favor? That's great. Next item up, financials, Magda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So this is just the annual report that we have to provide on council remuneration. It's very straightforward. There is less item, as you can see, when we changed your remuneration in 2021. Your meetings are not being captured as they have been before. It's just everything falls under your wages. Anybody have any questions?
Just the exact $53.02 for meals for everybody. How do you come up with that?
I noticed your email this morning, Council Rowe. I sent all council detail of what's sitting in that account, and basically we spent total of $265.10, and those are coffee for the meetings, lunch.
Divided
by 5.
Okay. Gotcha.
Okay, any other questions?
So I'll read the resolution that West Saucon Council hereby receives a report from Magda Bedura, CIO Treasurer, regarding 2021 council remuneration and expenses report for information.
Seconder, moved by Leatham, seconded by Taillé, all in favor? Carried. Next item up is committee and board reports, reports from councillor committees. Do you have any committees that they wish to report on? Bonnie.
County's Transportation Committee met on February the 14th. Decision was made by the committee to recommend that staff investigate buses of the same size that we have been using. We went back and forth in terms of. Oh, I'm sorry. So we're making a recommendation to staff to investigate a bus of the same size as we have currently in considering replacement, which we are planning to do this year. So that would be a bus of 16 capacity, and then bring some options for value of trade-in and costs and so forth back to the committee. And then we also decided to switch to a type of bus that has a low-level ramp as opposed to a lift. A lot of the buses are going to that, accessible buses. It makes for easier access for a lot of people. And so that we're looking at that, and at our next meeting, we'll look at that. And then also I asked Jana to post again the draft operating agreement. I had neglected to ask council's opinion about that. We are going to ask each of the partners to comment on that agreement and see if we can have that, which is would be our first formal agreement between partners, approved in the next little while. So I just would be asking for any comments or concerns about that draft agreement from council.
Okay, any questions, I guess, on the recommendation on the bus or and the agreement that is out there? When is our next meeting?
The 30, when is it? The time in March anyway.
It's March 21st.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be advisable to have any comments back by the 21st then.
Yeah.
Yeah, or before.
Well, unless
you
at
got
the
it.
next council meeting. The only thing that I am wondering about is the wording again of the membership, and the agreement talks about one vote per partner with an alternate. So there's some not clear understanding of whether that alternate votes or do they vote in place of the one voting member. And I'm just thinking, Jana, in terms of, sorry, I'm distracted. In terms of trying to assess whether we have quorum for one thing, and all these meetings are held by Zoom, and also trying to assess who is voting on behalf of whom. It makes it difficult when you have.
So, okay, I guess I view alternate different than maybe you do, and maybe I need to clarify it a little better. So there were, instead of you and the mayor attending the meeting, it would be you or the mayor. If you can't attend, he would be your alternate, the same way Richard is the alternate for in case anyone can't attend Tri-County. And if the alternate is there, it's because the primary member can't be, but they can vote on behalf of the primary member. So it is reducing the committee. It was it doesn't matter to me what way it happens one way or another. I know there was at a point in time we were trying to make things a little quicker, move streamlined, like Newberry only has one member. But like, we have no issue with staff resources being there. Like, we have Anne Marie come from Chatham, Kent. So maybe their counselor, she's just there as a staff resource, and their counselor is their voting member. Because, you know, there's 2 members of West Elgin there, staff, that type of thing. It just, instead of having 2 voting members from each partner municipality, especially if we were going to expand it, that was the idea. If you were, it could get bigger than Tri-County if we're not careful, and that was the idea.
Yep. So
it's up to the
Thanks.
committee if they want to do it or not do that.
You know, it always concerns me to have committees that get too big. Forum gets hard, and there hasn't been an issue with 4 counties over the years. It seems it's usually a pretty good attended meeting, so I'm comfortable with 1 member and 1 vote.
that's fine. I'll bring that back to the committee then as our perspective, if that's agreeable to everybody.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that it on 4 counties? Yep. Anything else? Just the recreation minutes are there. No questions from Recreation Committee. I guess, Janet, do you want to report on the deputation we made to the Optimist Club?
Oh, yeah. So Duncan and I attended an Optimist Club meeting. There were questions about the pathways. It was on February 10th, sorry. Pathways in Miller Park. So we cleared up the idea that I think that Optimist Club got the idea that we were automatically doing it when they put in that park. But the idea actually was, it was brought to the rec committee by myself as a member of staff, saying we found some grants and we would like to keep applying and use it for this. And so that was all cleared up, and I think there was some confusion from them, and they are now going to see if they can help raise some funds for it. We have they were going to put a plan in place basically and come to council with a proposal. We still do have grant applications out, and I believe Emily's working on another one right now, trying to get the funds to cover it. And they may end up, you know, if they do fundraising locally, they may only be able to do a smaller area of the park, and they'll have to talk to Lee, and they understand all of that. So I think it went really well once we cleared up there was some sort of confusion, and once we got that cleared up and they understood that, oh, it wasn't, yes, we're doing it, because they were wondering why it hadn't been done. And we're like, yeah, we have no problem. If you guys want to fundraise, we'll help you out. Here are the sizes they have to be built now, the AODA compliance and things like that. So I think it went really well, don't you?
I do too. I think that we had a good discussion on a number of things, and certainly I have to commend Jana that trying to understand the new accessibility requirements that have changed from before, that are different now, and that you have to be very cautious to adhere to those provincial rules is what they are. So we do have to, it's just not something that we can wave our magic wand and make happen. There's a bit of process that has to go through, and I know that certainly we're prepared to look at any initiatives that they may bring forward. We've worked with them in the past, and it's been certainly to the benefit of the municipality to do that, and I don't see that changing now. Yes, Angela.
So, through the chair, the rec committee did meet in February. Lee sent out a report that basically summarized more or less what we had talked about. So there's really not much to talk about with that. The only addition is that the road race is going forward this year in person unless something changes. We had a meeting last night to which Emily attended. So it is May the 8th, and I do believe Lee has sent the request over the roads to the county, and I think that was in a meeting I stepped out of. So that's the only other addition that hasn't been brought forward to council. So.
Cool. All right, anything else on committees? Seeing none, we will move to correspondence.
Sir, you missed the accounts?
Oh, I did miss the accounts.
So
Nobody would have got paid.
no, so I'll read the recommendation that the mayor and treasurer are hereby authorized to sign payment voucher number 2A amounting to $688,474 in settlement of general road, water, and arena accounts, including electronic funds transfer number 4840 to 4883, online payments 869 to 875, check numbers 25867 to 25888, and payroll for pay period number 3.
Okay, mover and seconder for that. Or any further questions that you haven't had answered? Moved by Taille, seconded by Leatham, all in favor. And that's carried, and yeah, okay, good. All right, then we'll go to correspondence, and as you all see, we now have the Elgin County highlights returned, I think maybe in a better format. It's a little more expanded. Any questions from those highlights? Bonnie?
One question I had was, has the county budget been finalized?
I don't believe we have passed the final resolution yet. I don't
Okay.
think we have. There's a lot of stuff goes on. But,
And grants, I wondered,
grants have been all settled into the county budget. They're all set there. So I don't know whether they've been published out to everybody yet, but I think the process that they're using, we have X amount of money and we adjudicate it and put it down to a portion of it to each one of our grant applications. So and that's a good question. I can't really tell you whether that budget has been done by bylaw yet or not.
I just didn't see any mention of it in the
No, I don't think it has been done.
council agenda
I
or
was gonna say,
anything.
we usually get notification when they do, and I haven't got a notification.
No. So it's-
They'll have to do a notification. We're required to notify residents for 2 weeks prior to passing it, which is, yeah.
Yeah, I think we're waiting on one component from Impact or someone to
Okay.
be able to finish it off.
And my other question was with regard to the West Elgin Main Street Ambassador.
Yes.
Just, I don't know anything about that project. Do we have to provide some sort of an office space for that person, and how was that person selected and so on?
Well, that was, we had county council on Tuesday. I guess 2 weeks ago, I did have some concerns that I did bring to the administration down there that this position, who was going to hire who, what were all the logistics to it. And it's driven by St. Thomas Economic Development. And there were 2 ambassadors that were put in place. There are 65 communities across the province of Ontario that have been selected for this program. St. Thomas Main Street was one, and Rodney and West Warren were the other one in Elgin County. So there's a individual, and I was very pleased in the fact that Michelle Cook from the Wild Goat was hired by Economic Development out of St. Thomas to be the ambassador for West Elgin. Not a whole lot of details on this whole program as of yet. I spoke with Michelle last week. She's still trying to get her head around the whole thing. Not, it's a brand new program, and I think that this is certainly a project that's worth pursuing. I had a conversation yesterday with Brian Lima and Julie about trying to be part and parcel of this through Elgin Economic Development. As this is a pilot project, there's probably a lot of things that we can learn from this that maybe we can apply to other communities across the county as we move forward. So they seemed very receptive of reaching out to Michelle and having discussions with her. We left it I left it with Michelle, and this is what she's wanting to do, is to be able to sit down and talk to the members of staff here, certainly to Magda, and I think you've had a conversation with her already.
I have, and she said that there will be a deputation between her and economic development from the county coming to council to explain the program a little bit more. They are trying to get their feet under themselves and figure
Yeah,
out what they're
yeah.
doing and things like that. Yeah.
So I guess there'll be more information to come, but just on the flush, I think it's a very good opportunity, and kind of an honor to be selected as one of the communities out of 65 in Ontario to receive this. I think there's some grant money, and there's some other things that are in place. There is no cost to really no cost to the municipality unless we wish to contribute in some way. As far as the office goes, Michelle's very satisfied just to work out of her own facility on the corner of Furnival and Pioneer. So, but I mean, she could be coming in and saying that she needs assistance
Yeah.
here and there, but
Well, I look
I
forward-
don't know any of that yet.
Look forward to that presentation then.
Anything else in the county package that questions on? I'm just really glad to see that it's back in there, because it refreshes my memory too. Okay, next item up is Elgin County OPP annual report. I guess that's was presented to us. Yes.
I had not heard that the Elgin and Chatham Kent dispatches were amalgamating. What do you know about that?
Nothing. It's out of, that's a OPP responsibility. They have their comp center, and I couldn't even tell you where it is. And in today's electronic world, who knows where it might be? But obviously they've joined the two forces together.
I just was wondering what kind of advantages that might prove for our OPP, or anyway.
I think it, again, the whole crux of the whole thing is that it's dispatched through our 911 carrier, who I think is, where are they, in up north somewhere? Barrie, I believe. And so then the 911 is dispatched to Barrie, and then Barrie contacts the appropriate agencies.
So by rights, I suppose we could get a response from Chatham Kent to issues here in West Elgin if once they amalgamate.
Well, I think OPP are dispatched on a need basis, and if we're in a situation in Elgin that we need additional OPP officers, they could come from Lambton, they could come from Chatham Kent, they could come from Essex, they could come from anywhere. And that's one of the, I think this is a communication center is something just for the OPP.
Right.
Right. But that is one of the advantages of having an OPP contract, that if you need significant OPP presence, they will send.
But I mean, if they're amalgamating into one force, then their regular
I don't think their
police might come
forces
from.
Forces aren't
amalgamating.
amalgamating.
No,
the
it's
comm
just
centers.
the comm centers.
Oh, okay,
The communication.
it wasn't
No.
real clear. They just said detachments.
Yeah.
So
I don't.
That
believe
would, to do that would change the whole dynamics of the contract that we have with the Elgin Police Services
Mhm.
Group. Yeah, it's just internal operations.
just says the completion of the amalgamation between Chatham Kent and Elgin detachments.
Okay.
So that doesn't tell us a lot.
Doesn't tell us.
Anyway,
Okay, Township of Limerick, Gypsy Moth Spraying. Tressa,
Through the chair, just wondering how much, if we can speak to it, an issue it is in our area at all.
how much which?
Of an issue it is in our area.
Well,
not major.
yeah, it's here.
We do have a reporting tool on our website, but I actually don't know we've had more than two, or even any.
I believe.
Two, yeah, we've only had two. I'm just checking it now, but yeah, just two reports of gypsy moth. So maybe it'll, when we get farther into the year, I don't know.
Okay, I just didn't, yeah, I knew that 2 hours south from, or I guess that'd be east from us, they have a really big issue there and up north and such, but I hadn't heard anything here, but I thought maybe I just didn't have my ear to the ground, so it's good that we've only had 2 so far.
Got a huge problem in Grand Bend.
Here too.
Yeah, well, it's, yeah, if you think you haven't got it, you're mistaken. It's here. What's your pleasure on this?
Yeah, just through the chair, does anyone know exactly where the eggs are laid? So they, you know, when they spray before the caterpillar comes out, do they? I heard they're in clumps on the trunk of the tree
Mhm.
and not necessarily high up.
Well,
They can be high up.
They will move over the course of the day. I know up at our cottage, in the heat of the day, they come down onto the trunk of the tree because it's too hot up top for them, and then travel back and forth.
But the actual eggs, where they're in a cocoon or whatever, before they hatch,
So our website has full-on information on how to get rid of them. All of the stuff we've gotten off there, basically, when an egg mass is found, you are to scrape it off with a knife, drop it in a bucket filled with hot water and household bleach.
okay.
And it has pictures of what the egg should look like, the egg masses, how to find them, all of that stuff. This was all set up, I believe, last year. There's some fairly detailed information we got off some.
I mean, this is something, again, that we should be communicating to our public, either a reminder on our Facebook page and or the fact that on our bulletin board signs, we can put up that gypsy moth information available on the website.
Good idea.
Trash, you had your hand up and
Janet already spoke to it, so we're good. Thank you.
okay. Municipal resolutions to dissolve the Ontario Land Tribunal. What's your pleasure on that? Bonnie?
Well, I'm inclined to support this resolution. I mean, we've spent money representing ourselves at the tribunal, not in a lot of cases, but you do have to question what is the value of it when we have to follow the rules in terms of creating our official plan and our zoning bylaws and so forth and so on. That's just my
I have to
gut feeling.
I have to agree with you, Bonnie. I mean, if we're following the rules of the official plan, that's where the public has the opportunity to speak to issues. And we proceed through the Planning Act as we're supposed to. Seems like another step in the big chunk of red tape. So would you move supporting of this?
Yeah.
Seconder on it?
I'll second that.
Okay, Teres, you have a question? Oh, you're holding up. Okay, all in favor of that, supporting this resolution? Okay, that's carried. Norfolk County Year of the Garden Proclamation. What's your pleasure there?
Noted.
All right, Rodney Carver boulders and shuffle borders request to waive the fees.
Does a staff member need to be present for this program? I guess I'm thinking in terms of, could it not be considered a municipal-led program? It's open to the public, so it's not a closed program. And therefore, if it's a municipal-led program, it would negate the need for rental fees.
We do have a fee of $2 to attend, per person
Right.
to attend. So then each person, could pay the $2 and then we still make some money. I guess Lee might be able to answer that better. Still recoup some costs.
There's two ways to go. There's two ways to go about it. It can be, this group has historically always rented the recreation center. In the past, there was, they had their own special fee in the fees and charges bylaw, which was a reduced rate for the use of the building. Being their own program, they do have to sign a contract and they do have to provide insurance for the use of it, which they have done. We eliminated that special fee and fees and charges for them 2 years ago in 2020, I believe. But since the pandemic hit, the fees for the use, when we were able to have them in there, those fees were, council had waived those, chosen to waive those. So they have not paid anything for the use of the facility. The other way of going about it is it could be a municipal program, which we have in our fees and charges bylaw, that $2 fee for anybody that attends on a, each time they attended, they would have to pay that $2 fee. That would eliminate the need for a contract like a rental, and it would eliminate the need for insurance, because if it's a municipal led program, we're covered for that. Excuse me. So there would still be a fee for them if council chose to enforce that $2 per person charge, which they typically have anywhere from 12 to 20 people playing during that day. So it's council's decision, I guess. Right now, they're just requesting a waiver of fees. Obviously, as you can see by the letter, right now the rental for that large room where they play is $30 per hour. So it would be $60 a day for the rental. So $120 a week is what it would cost them to rent that space.
Not getting enough participation to even cover that.
So it would be cheaper for them to consider it a municipal program and just pay the $2, especially if they're not getting their 20 out right now.
Yes, it would be cheaper for them. There would be some question as to, now you've got, but you do have the all the things that they need to play, right? Like, does that stay with them? Do they still replace that?
Yep, got that.
Or if it's a municipal program, does all of a sudden, is that borne by us where we're having to replace that equipment that they're using and keep that up?
I would be very satisfied just to not charge them for the use of it, and they're responsible for everything else. They want to charge $2 a head for to replace their equipment. I would, to me, collecting $2 from everybody would be more of a pain in the butt than it would be. Yes.
Through the chair, I know that we had a limited amount left in council grants based on what was approved. Yeah. I mean, we haven't officially approved the budget, but tentatively. So based on the calculations, what's being asked in this letter. Is that available?
The money is still available.
And what would that leave us for the remainder of the year?
Council approved thing.
Yes. Just so I have a clear picture of what I'm saying yes to and what's going to be left for the rest of this year.
I believe council approved so far 7,000 out of.
I thought it was more than that.
So we have approved $15,360 when you include the stuff we have yet to update for the fair board. So I guess if you take that out, take out 3,000. So you've approved 13,000. That's what's total.
Out of a budget of what?
30.
Oh, okay. I thought we were closer to the end. So, okay. Okay.
What's your pleasure here?
So right now, we don't provide staff to be there when this is being run. They let them in, they do the COVID checks.
Currently pandemic era, we have had staff there because we have to screen that group. That's still been our responsibility, but after that requirement for screening goes away, then we would have to have staff there to obviously open the building. But outside of that, we don't need to be there. Historically, before, there was no staff present there at the recreation center when they were playing.
And if we do it this way, they still have to purchase insurance. By waiving the fee, they still have to buy the insurance side of it.
Yes, which they've already done. They've already signed an agreement, an updated agreement for this year, and they've looked after insurance for their time slots for the whole year.
All these people want is just to get back in the.
Oh,
field.
go bowling. Yeah,
That's- They just are desperate to get back. in.
I'll second that.
Okay. Moved and second to waive the fees. All in favor? Carried. All right, council inquiries and announcement. Anybody have a notice of motion? Seeing none, statements and inquiries by councilors. Yes. Teresa.
Through the chair, just that the Aldeboro, Rodney Aldeboro Society, the Fair Society is having their AGM this Saturday, the 26th, 9 a.m., $15 to include the breakfast. And it's being held at the Elgin International Club on Kerr.
Yeah, I did forget to mention that I'm going to the Lower Thames Conservation Authority Annual General this afternoon, hopefully in Channel.
Anything else? Okay, any matters of urgency?
I have one thing, through the chair, for council's consideration, something that's just come up. We've been, as I told you in the letter for the recreation update email I sent out, we have recreation staff's been working with the local group organizations and businesses to provide free public skates through March break. We had a really great response to that, to the letters that were sent out. And we have 2 organizations that are actually wanting to sponsor 2 skates each. Problem is we have more people that are wanting to sponsor than we actually had times. So what our proposal was is for the 2 groups, what we're thinking is for the 2 groups that want to sponsor 2 skates each. We have all through the week is all filled up. We would use the Friday night public skate and the Saturday afternoon public skate for those extra 2 that they're wanting to sponsor. But what we're looking at is, and what they've asked us is if they could have those 2. The ones that we booked all through the week are at the non-prime rate, the daytime rate. The one on Friday night and the one on Saturday would be at the full prime time rate. So what we're looking to see is if we could extend that non-prime rate to the Saturday night and Sunday.
I would motion that we offer those sponsors the lower rate.
Again, do we have the ability to recognize those sponsors somehow on our?
Yeah. Yes and no. If we get the logos, we can make an effort to get them on our signs. We've been promoting the public skates. So each day, once whoever's sponsoring that one, Emily's going to be letting me know and we'll be putting it on the sign as long as we have logos for them. Yeah.
I think that they, and if they don't have a logo, I mean, just the wording is fine too.
Do we not have to run this by the arena board to give a reduced rate?
It's our
No,
fees and
we're paying for it.
charges, so it'll come out of our budget. If
Okay.
Yeah, we'll pay more. Yeah.
I did have a comment, you know, when we reduced the ice time. I had a discussion from, getting back to the arena board, Ken, just run it by Ken.
I can send send out an email.
Yeah.
I
don't,
but this is just,
Through
this
the
is
chair,
just,
there's a problem, pull it from council grants.
well, I know, but it's Dutton, which is responsible for the percentage of it. But I think if you just run this by Ken, he knows about it. He's on council, he's on the arena board, and I know that there won't, I don't foresee any issues with it at all.
well, no, it's their hour-and-a-half long skates. So a non-prime time skate is costing them $127.50 to sponsor. A prime time skate would be $270 for them to sponsor. But that's time where we would have public skating time. So at $3 a person on a public skate, we would need 40 people in the building just to hit the non-prime sponsorship rate. So we're still money ahead, even by offering them, right? Our revenue is still going to be higher by having them sponsor that skate at $127.50 than us running a public skate and maybe having 20 people in the building. And those 20 people would have to pay to get in the building, right? Whereas this is a sponsored skate, so they're able to come and they're able to skate and it's not going to cost them.
No, there's no downside to this, but I still think that it would be just touch base with Ken, say you're gonna do this, so you know, certainly he can maybe promote it, or if he has any questions, so he's been contacted. Yes.
Through the chair, Lee, not to put you on the spot, but just rough numbers for public skating, what are we getting? 15 people, 20 people on average? So we're not covering
Yeah.
our operating costs, correct?
Well,
We never did.
yeah,
We never-
Yeah, so we never do, right? Okay, so this is,
not on a public skate.
this is a,
Public skates are, you know,
it's
a
a public
public
service we
service.
do to get people active.
right. And typically we don't have, public skates are always used to fill in gaps. We're not taking up time that we could have hockey or something there that's gonna pay. We're not using up those
Right.
time slots for public skates. We're using public skates to infill on times where the ice would be dead. So if we have staff in the building anyways, and the arena's there, if we only make $40 on a public skate, it's still, right, it's still a service.
I look at it as it's promoting people being active and bringing people together. I'm all for it.
All right, you don't need any action from council on the staff directions, good.
I'll send an email to the arena board after.
Okay, any more matters of urgency? Almost need another coffee, but we'll do that in a minute. Let's go to bylaws. Madam Clerk, let's lead us through the bylaw.
So the bylaw 2022-08, use of municipal resources during an election policy, that bylaw 2022-08 being a bylaw to adopt policy CO 2.1, use of municipal resources during an election, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Over and seconder. Cameron and Rowe, all in favor? That's carried.
So bylaw 2022-09 to rezone 21934 Johnston Line, the bylaw 2022-09 being a bylaw to amend the municipality of West Elgin comprehensive bylaw number 2015-36 for the property known as 21934 Johnston Line, be read a first, second, and third and final time.
Over and seconder. Leatham and Tellier, all in favor? That is carried.
So we're going to move into closed session at this point, sir.
Let's go into closed session and then we will have
A recess, yep. So that council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby proceeds into closed session at 10:45 a.m. under section 239 B and D of the Municipal Act RSO 2001. Consideration will be given to matters pertaining to an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local board employee, and labor relations or employee negotiations.
Over and seconder, moved by Rowe, seconded by Tellier, all in favor? That is carried.
Okay, I'm just gonna lock everything down.
That's what we're gonna do.
We're gonna take a break too.
Yep.
It's all locked.
Steve near the house on?
Is that consideration was given to matters concerning an identifiable individual, including a municipal or local and board employee, and labor relations, and staff direction was provided to move forward with water shutoffs for past due accounts over 90 days. Is that the way they are, Magda? 90 days? Over 90 days, past due over 90 days. For water utilities in closed session.
Okay. Mover and seconder for camera. We'll wait. Tellier, seconded by Leatham, all in favor? That is carried.
So now we're on to the confirming bylaw, that bylaw 2020. It will be done as part of, we can do it as part of adjournment if you would like, or it can't be done in closed, it's an open, so. So the confirming bylaw, that bylaw 2022-10 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the regular meeting of council held on February 24th, 2022, be read for a first, second, and third and final time.
Mover and seconder, moved by Cameron, seconded by Tellier, all in favor?
So,
Carried.
and we're going to, for as part of adjournment, we needed to set a new meeting of committee of the whole for budget, a date.
I have the same issue with.
So anybody has a proposed date? March 1st week, is that when you're looking to do it, Magda? The 3rd, or do you want to do it after the next council meeting on the 10th? What do you want to do? Just keep in mind, we have to give 2 weeks notice that we're going to pass the budget bylaw, so.
It shouldn't be a long meeting. We can do it after regular council meeting,
On the 10th of March, you want to wait that long? Do you
or
want to?
do you want to do it next week? I'm flexible.
we can't.
No.
because it's not enough time.
The earliest it could be passed at this point in time would be the 24th of March.
Through the chair, I'm fine if we leave it until the 24th. I don't know what the rest of my fellow councilors think.
Like the budget, you mean?
To finalizing the budget on the 24th, if we reviewed it on the 10th.
When's the Good Roads Convention?
It's second week of April.
I am too. As I spoke with Maggie yesterday, she's got the heavy lifting all done. I mean, and the numbers are all in place. It's just a matter of forward, and it's not the 1st of June. And taking into consideration all the other things that have cropped up over the last pandemic and all the other things that have cropped up, I think that we're in pretty good shape.
Okay, so then that council of the municipality of West Elgin hereby adjourn at 11:40 a.m. to reconvene on March 10th, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. or at the call of the chair.
Mover and seconder. Moved by Leatham, seconded by Tellier, all in favor? That is carried. We are now adjourned, and everybody have a great day.
Have a good day. Take care.
Bye, Tressa.